Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring some ideas that are, well, they're as profound as they are personal. Believe it or not, the insights for today's topic actually came from a pretty unexpected place, a short, super productive evening bath. You know how it is. Sometimes just stepping away for a minute brings absolute clarity to things you've been racking your brain over for years. The author was thinking hard about the persistent cycle of poverty in their community, mostly looking at rural areas. But honestly, this totally applies to those of us in the cities too. We're really aiming this explainer right at the youth, our brothers, sisters, people who just wrapped up their national service, or graduates sitting at home right now just waiting for a job. If you're looking for someone to tell you that your ideas for building wealth are actually, literally doable, you're in exactly the right place.
Okay, so let's dive into this. 50,000 Ghanaian cedis. That is a massive amount of money. In the source material, the author points out this incredibly baffling paradox that happens in agricultural communities all the time. Just imagine someone pulling in a lump sum of up to 50,000 cedis from just one single season of yam sales. You'd think, right? That person is completely set for the year. But somehow, this exact same person ends up begging and borrowing from friends and family just to scrape by before the very next farming season even starts. How is that even mathematically possible?
It's the golden question, right? How does 50,000 just vanish? Now look, it's super easy to sit back and judge, but we really have to empathize here. As the author notes, we can be a pretty impatient people, and there's a valid reason for it. A hungry man is an angry man. When you've been going without for so long and you finally get a big payout, it's genuinely hard to see past the end of the month. Short-term thinking just takes over out of pure necessity. But the big takeaway here is that the root problem actually isn't a lack of money. I mean, the money was literally right there. The real issue, the silent wealth killer, is a lack of management.
Section 1. The Harvest Money Trap, the cycle keeping farmers broke. Let's look at this broken system so we know exactly what we're trying to dismantle.
And this brilliantly illustrates the trap. There are 6 agonizing stages to this completely broken system. First, you farm. You put in the literal back-breaking work. Second, you harvest. Third, you sell those crops and get that massive lump sum we were just talking about. Fourth, you spend it. Mostly because, well, you've been waiting all year to buy the things you actually need. But because you spend it all down, you inevitably hit step 5, which is borrowing just to cover your everyday living expenses. And that dumps you right into the worst step of all, step 6, waiting. You just sit there, desperately waiting for the next harvest season, completely trapped. Year after year, this exact cycle just repeats.
See, the core issue is that while the farmer definitely makes money during harvest time, they don't have a system. They haven't built a mechanism to actually manage those funds, save a chunk, reinvest it back into the work, or, and this is absolutely crucial, create additional sources of income. And honestly, the main reason people get stuck in this loop is cultural. We're so used to looking at agriculture in just one direction. We hear the word agriculture, and boom, our brains immediately and exclusively think of crop farming.
Let's move to Section 2. The Agribusiness Blueprint, Building a Wealth-Generating System. Here's where we shift from the problem to a highly practical solution.
We need a massive pivot in mindset right now. Agriculture is much bigger than crops. Just let that sink in for a second. If you genuinely want to break out of this cycle of poverty, you have to completely shatter that traditional, one-dimensional view of farming. It is not just about dropping seeds in the dirt and praying for some rain. It is a huge, multifaceted industry.
So here is the ultimate transformation. We are tossing out that old, broken cycle of farm, sell, spend, and wait. Instead, we're building a robust agribusiness system. We're talking about combining crop production with animal production, layering in some highly disciplined savings, and aggressively reinvesting those profits back into the machine. The goal here is radically different from the old way. You're no longer just trying to make money once a year. Your goal is to build an engine, a continuous, highly functional system that churns out money all year round.
Section 3. The Power of Livestock, your off-season income source. Let's see how we actually bridge those financial gaps between harvests. So the crucial point is this secret weapon that so many people completely overlook. In a lot of our communities, folks barely touch animal production in a serious way. But raising livestock? It perfectly complements crop farming. It gives you this alternative, rock-solid, stable income. Think about it. When your crops are still growing, or when it's the off-season and that crop cash is totally dry, your livestock can be sold or used to keep the cash flowing. It acts as this incredible financial stabilizer for the whole system.
Section 4. Creating Your Own Opportunity, a guide for young graduates. Let's talk directly to the youth sitting at home right now.
Now, what's really interesting about this is you probably already have everything you need. If you're a fresh graduate who just finished national service, sitting around waiting for a corporate job, listen up. If you live in a rural area, or heck, even a city house with a bit of space, you've got access to land. You have a family compound. You have available labor, which, by the way, is you. You have a local market right down the road and hopefully a willingness to learn. You already possess the basic, highly valuable resources to start an agribusiness literally today. You don't need some massive bank loan. You just need to leverage the assets sitting right in front of you.
And here is your exact execution blueprint. Just follow these 4 steps. First, start small. Seriously, don't try to launch a massive commercial farm on day 1. Number 2, learn and keep meticulous records. Write it all down. Your feed costs, your time, everything. Third, manage it properly. Treat this with the exact same respect a real formal business deserves. And 4, reinvest your profits and expand. If you take this blueprint and combine crop farming with a small animal production setup, you are actively building that continuous wealth machine we talked about.
We absolutely have to change the narrative around this. Agriculture is not a cursed sector. It is definitely not some punishment for people who couldn't score a fancy office job. Agriculture is a business sector. And just like any serious, legitimate business on the planet, it heavily rewards the people who approach it with strict planning, solid discipline, proper management, and honestly, an immense amount of patience.
So if you're watching this, please share this explainer. Send it to your friends, your siblings, your parents. If they're at home, frustrated, just waiting for an employment letter that isn't coming anytime soon, show them this. Show them that starting an agribusiness might not make them a millionaire overnight, but over time, it provides something so much more valuable. It gives them a real productive asset. It gives them another totally reliable source of income, and above all else, it gives them a reason to finally stop waiting.
Which brings us to the end of our explainer with one single vital question for you to chew on. Take a hard look at the resources you already have: the land, the space, the time. Will you keep waiting around for an opportunity to be handed to you, or will you step up and start creating one yourself? The blueprint is right there. The choice is yours. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I highly encourage you, go start building your system.